Grand dawning, great raising, Cleveland, and the rest of the planet. Welcome to another edition of 360 Info Network. I'm Vince Robinson, working through a few difficulties at the moment. And as usual, we're in the midst of Mercury retrograde. It just started a few days ago. So I'm going to attribute that to our situation presently. We're working through, again, a few different technical difficulties and also awaiting the arrival of our guest who should be tuning in very shortly to StreamYard, which is where we do our broadcast from. I'm going to take this opportunity to say hello to everyone, first of all, and to secondly, let you know the platform that we're on currently. And what we give you an opportunity to do is to chime in on our shows because we are using StreamYard for our broadcast. So what this means is that you can go to the 360 Info Network Facebook page. You can also go to my personal Facebook page, which is Vince Robinson. You can go to my YouTube channel and you can catch our program on any of these. Of course, you can also listen to us via terrestrial radio on AM 1490 WERE. And you can also check us out at newstalkcleveland.com. So you have a whole lot of different ways to catch up with us, to see this program. And after the program airs, you can view it on my YouTube channel, which is Vince Robinson. So with all that said, would like to respectfully ask that you go to the YouTube channel, like and subscribe. You can also like our 360 Info Network Facebook page. And I'll tell you this about that Facebook page. Thanks to the magic of Facebook, they are adding content to our page on an hourly basis. So there are a lot of articles, a lot of information that you may be interested in. And of course, I post a lot of critical information to my Facebook page as well. I try to keep everyone informed about what's going on in the world of art and culture here in Cleveland, as well as providing information about health, nutrition, history, and so forth and so on, because we want to do everything that we can to bring a value to you as, I guess, customers, clients, fans, some of you, and we're really thankful for all of that. We are expecting to be joined by Shannon Yarbrough, who is a sound therapist. I believe she's also an occupational therapist, so she has a great wealth of information and knowledge about things that you can do uh, to be a part of a new paradigm of health. We talk about health on this show quite a bit. So I'm just going to work through what we're dealing with right now. Again, as we wait for Shannon, I want to bring you up to date on a few other things. One thing that I will mention is that we're going to do a jam session at Larchmere Arts this evening, and it's not a paid event or anything like this. This is just an opportunity for musicians to engage in fellowship. You know, it's really good to be able to come together and do some things creatively. You know, when I think about doing jam sessions, I think about perhaps going a little bit off the beaten path. You know, Cleveland is a really interesting place when it comes to musicians and gatherings and whatnot. And typically, what happens in jam sessions is that people come together and they play music that they already know because, of course, everyone wants to be on the same page, and that's how you do it. But as a jazz musician, I like to get into improvisation. So it means creating something new in the moment. Improvisation is a very powerful tool because it allows you to have active engagement of your imagination. And of course, your imagination is one of the most powerful tools that you have to create a reality that suits you. We're just going to basically give you some stream of consciousness as we await guests on our show this morning. So I'm going to talk about a few things that are relevant today. One thing that I have learned from Dr. James Brown is the importance of the winter solstice, and we're about to engage in the winter solstice. It begins on the first day of the season. So that is December 21st. And what you will want to do going into this solstice is to engage in a detoxification paradigm. And then I would suggest, and this is purely optional for you, but I would suggest a fast during the solstice. And I would also suggest taking time to meditate, reflect on your previous year, and think about the year that is coming forward. This is the best time of the year to engage in intention setting. What we typically do is wait till December 31st, and then we make all these New Year's resolutions, and then they fail to come into fruition because we didn't plant the seed at the appropriate time. So just want to leave that on the table, and we'll talk about that and more as we continue. We have been joined by Shannon Yarbrough. I'm glad that she was able to join us. She looks like she's probably in transit somewhere. So I think she mentioned to me earlier that she had to take care of some transportation duties within the family. Obviously, she has accomplished that and she's able to join us. So with all of that, welcome to 360 Info Network, Shannon.
Thank you.
All right. So I like to be transparent as always, and I talk about the various ways that folks began to be involved in this radio platform. And I met Shannon, I believe, last year at a Kwanzaa that took place at Kings and Queens of Art. It's Gwen Garth's establishment over there between Superior and St. Clair. I believe it's something like 38th Street or 36th Street, somewhere in that vicinity. But we had a Kwanzaa, and Shannon brought some bowls, and she performed a sound bath for us, and it was really quite impressive. And I think there was another occasion that I witnessed her technology. As a matter of fact, Shannon, I think you did two Kwanzaas last year
I
because you,
did. Yes, I did.
yes,
Hmm.
yes, you did the one for Uplift.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So two times in 1 week, I had the pleasure and the great experience. So why don't we get started just by talking a little bit about you? I wasn't able to get your full title and classification and your website and all of that. So right off the top, just let us know about your credentials. If you have a website, let us know about the website, and then we'll move forward from there.
Okay, absolutely. So I'm Shannon Yarbrough. I am an occupational therapist. I have my master's degree in occupational therapy. Currently, I work with people who have low vision to no vision, but my background with OT stems from working at St. Vincent Medical Charity Center. I was there for about 8 years. And at that time, or during that time, I worked with people who had various mental health conditions, such as schizophrenia, depression, bipolar disorder, you name it. I was there working with them in the acute setting for 8 years or more. And in that time, I was curious to see what else could be done for these people in this setting besides the medications that they were on, that they were being titrated with. Um, and surely there was a lot more going on with these individuals. Um, Energetically, we could say, on an energetic level. And so it led me to want to explore things with energy medicines, such as Reiki, sound healing frequencies, pressure points, and just being curious with that and the fact that the hospital was welcoming to it. I began to use these interventions with my clients, our patients at St. Vincent Charity. Um, a lot of breakthroughs happened where people were saying they were able to sleep, they felt a sense of relief, they felt a connection to something more than themselves using pressure point technology and sound frequency. So after some time, I began to wonder, well, wow, how else can I get to people in my community? How else can I show them these technologies before they're so dilapidated in a way? When they would come to the hospital, they were very sick. Um, Asking those questions, I got answers where I, sure enough, linked up with Watt Patton of Ghetto Therapy, which is a platform in the city in the central community where a lot of our residents come together and they discuss things around health, mental health, solution based things. And I came to the first ghetto therapy session for me was back in 2021, and I came with the sound bowls with me that day. And if you could have seen the looks on people's faces, it was quite remarkable. So, my goal has been to introduce people who wouldn't quite normally have access to these certain modalities, um, just introducing them to them to see how they can find a way to have healing in their own hands. Um, so, I continue to do that in my community. I have my own office space. It's called Enlightened Heart Space out of Euclid, Ohio. And I work with groups, I work with individuals and couples where I am showing them certain pressure points to utilize on one another so that they can have alleviation of pain or anxiety. Or my favorite is working with the psychological acupressure points on the head and the chest to help people accept and integrate very traumatizing experiences into their everyday life. Um, I'm constantly a student of learning. So, energy medicine has been my forte for the last 4 or 5 years. And I usually pair that with some sort of sound frequency. My sound frequency of choice and that I've mastered has been the sound bowls. I have anywhere from, geesh, I think 10 to 12 of them now, crystal sound bowls. And yeah.
Okay. Just getting into the weeds a little bit, you mentioned all these bowls that you have. Could you talk about what someone should do in terms of acquiring the bowls and give us an idea of what some of the cost ranges might be?
Okay. Well, I got my first sound bowl on online on Amazon. I did, and it was not a crystal one. It was one made of brass. So the idea was that I myself, working in the psych ward at the time, I was collecting a lot of energetic fog, a lot of things I was bringing with me because I am so compassionate. I was wanting something to help clear myself or settle myself, my energy. So I purchased this sound bowl on Amazon, and I think it's probably like a 4-inch one, about that big. And it was a heart frequency F as in Frank sound bowl. A lot of caregivers should definitely maintenance their heart frequently and often. You should do this because you can collect a lot of fog. And it was maybe a price range of $25 I got online. And the idea was that I would master that and be able to tolerate the frequency. You could feel it within your body. You can get an idea of what sort of chakras were off centered. And after some time of practicing with that bowl, I got another one offline. And that one was D, as in Daniel dog. And that one worked with the solar plexus. And so I worked with that, and I decided to take that to the hospitals and work with our people there at the hospital. But you can get them online easily. They range anywhere from, like I said, $25. My most expensive bowl that I have purchased from, um, it's a brick and mortar shop on Coventry, and it's called Passport to Peru. The most expensive bowl that I purchased is $450, and it is a C as in cat for the root chakra bowl. So, and they can go anywhere from, again, 4 inches in diameter to my largest one is 13 inches. So it's pretty massive. And I buy my case carrying bag separately because you don't want to fracture or crack your crystal bowls.
Yes, that's really a tragic situation
Yeah, it's
considering spending $450 on a bowl for it to crack and then perhaps not have the same integrity that it had before.
no, you
Um,
don't want to leave them in the cold or the heat, extreme temperatures because it will affect the integrity and it could potentially crack. So making sure that it's in fact, covered and um, is important to do. I think I have one in my car. I just have them in the car with me.
okay,
And
all
so,
right.
guys, this is a mallet that you use with the bowl. So this is a rubber mallet. There's also one that can be just suede. but I prefer rubber mallets. You would set your bowl on this ring here because you don't want it to slide around as you're putting the friction on the outside lip of the bowl. So you would set it down onto that, and I think I can get one of these out of here. I have it double wrapped in some cotton because it was a little chilly and I knew I was transporting it today. So
Okay.
I'm getting this out, unwrapping it here in the cotton, and I'll show you. So this is one of my smallest crystal bowls here.
Okay, that's quite a size there though. It's not
Is it? Because this is a little baby one.
That's a baby one.
About
Okay.
6 inches, yeah, across.
Okay.
So you would, I don't have a solid surface to put it on, but you would move the outside of this mallet around the bowl here.
All right, so that sounds therapeutic. You mentioned two bowls, one in the key of D, one in the key of F, and you link them to specific chakras. So since we're talking about chakras, why don't we go through the letters that are appropriate and what's associated with each one?
Okay, I will do my best to try to get all of that together. I will admit I don't know every single letter that's associated with each chakra. I know for sure that the D is the solar plexus, the C is the root, F is for the heart chakra. This bowl that I just played now, this is a B for the third eye, so right here. And after that, I would have to pull up my books and tell you that I can get back to you on the answers as to what
Okay.
it. But typically, a rule of thumb is that each chakra is associated with various colors, right? I don't know if you guys have seen the different rainbow colors where they are circles.
Royalty Biv.
Mm-hmm. I'm
Red,
sorry.
orange, red, orange, yellow,
Yes.
and then there's indigo,
Yes.
violet, blue,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yes.
green is the heart chakra.
Yes. So green could be the heart chakra as well as pink. So
Okay, got a little interruption in her signal, but she's describing to us the chakras and the colors that connect with each one of them as we continue in our broadcast. This is one of the technical difficulties that we encounter when we're doing these broadcasts sometimes. So bear with us as we push through this. I think she may have touched something on her phone and it caused her signal to drop out. Hopefully, you are still hearing us on Facebook, YouTube, and all the various channels that we're on. If you're just joining us, we're having a conversation with Shannon Yarbrough. She is an occupational therapist. She's also someone who engages in sound therapy, Reiki, and some of the other Eastern modalities that are available to us to get us relief from some of the challenges that we have in life. You know, we have traditional medicine and then we have non-traditional medicine, so to speak. So now we're exploring integrative medicine. I think some of the major medical institutions are beginning to realize that people are looking for other ways to get relief. You know, when we look at the allopathic industry, which is basically what our major medical institutions are engaged in the practice of, we find that there is a profit motive involved in that. There's also a lot of money involved in treatment and so forth and so on. But when you look at some of the Eastern modalities, it's not so much about profit as it is about relief from your pain. I had a conversation with someone last night who talked about an elder person who at the age of 60 something started getting involved in Tai Chi. Some 20 years later, this person is in their 80s and they're still quite flexible. They're still very much spry, which you might not expect from someone who is up in age like that. But because this person engages in Tai Chi, again, that flexibility is there. So it's really important for us to consider some of the other opportunities that we have to maintain a certain level of health and fitness. Of course, you have those kinds of things like Tai Chi, like Qigong, like yoga, and then you also have other martial arts that will provide some of the same benefits. As we wait for Shannon to rejoin us on the broadcast, I'll continue to give you or share with you what I know about the winter solstice. And I'm sharing this information with you as a result of conversations that I've had with Dr. James Brown. A few years back, this is prior to the pandemic, Dr. Brown would have classes over at the Martin Luther King branch of the Cleveland Public Library, and they were quite informative. You know, there's really a void left because of the changes that happened as a result. As we look at things now, the library is in a state of construction. They're building a new structure over there on Stokes Boulevard near Euclid Avenue. But the result of that is that the classes were discontinued. And I hope at some point, perhaps Dr. Brown will consider re-engaging in having his classes. But what happened in those classes that he was able to share information with us about yoga. He actually taught us certain yoga movements, which thankfully I've been able to implement in my own life. He also taught us some qigong, so there are exercises that we learn that send healing energy to various organs in the body and give you a certain sense of, I guess, well-being and relief from stress and so forth and so on. But to move forward to the solstice, he shared with us a diet. It is a living diet. So a lot of the foods that are in this diet, a matter of fact, all of them are plant-based foods because it advocates for plant-based versus eating meat. But the other thing is that he talked about how we transition from one season to another. So when you look at the various seasons, you have, of course, spring, summer, winter, and fall. And as those seasons change, you change up the types of foods that you're eating based on the energy of those foods. So what typically happens is during the solstices, one would engage in a liquid fast that involves organic navel oranges. You also can use spring water and then cayenne pepper. So my practice is basically to blend the water and the oranges and the cayenne pepper, and that is what I drink during the solstice. Another recommendation that he made is that you engage in meditation as much as you possibly can. And the reason for that is during the solstice, your subconscious mind is most receptive to the suggestions that you make to it. So, in essence, what you're doing is you're reflecting on the previous years, I said earlier at the top of the broadcast, but this is also a good time to think about the things that you would like to accomplish in the coming year. So you might have some goals that you want to set. You might have some projects that you want to think through. And of course, you know, you have your reticular activation system. Now, this is something that I've learned from my brother, Wayne Chandler. With the reticular activation system, basically your body is programming itself to respond to the suggestions that you make to it. So one is you might suggest to yourself that I am wealthy. Well, when you suggest to yourself that you are wealthy, then your spirit will work on creating that reality for you. You know, it can work the opposite way. So if you think of yourself as being impoverished, or if you think of yourself as being weak, or if you think of yourself as being sick, then it creates that reality for you. So that's one of the reasons why your thoughts are really so important. So again, during the winter solstice, you are making suggestions to yourself that will be of benefit, that will be positive, and things that will enable you to be the best possible you. Another thing that's just coming into my mind space right now is the importance of Kwanzaa. We have these Kwanzaa events during the last week of the year every year. And then unfortunately, Kwanzaa goes away until another 51 weeks pass by, and then we revisit it. But Kwanzaa is a set of principles, 7 principles that should be implemented in our daily life. And when you embrace these and you implement these, then you fulfill a role within the village, within the community, within the city, within the state, within the universe, really, because it comes down to that. Who are you? What are you doing? And what is your relationship to the universe? So again, when you look at being able to think about what you should be doing and coming to a certain sense of what your purpose in life is and assigning yourself to that purpose, you will see radical change in your life. One thing that I have observed in life is that many people are unaware of their purpose. And one of the reasons that they may not be able to focus on their purpose is because they're serving someone else's purpose. What happens to us when we follow the protocol, so to speak, of what this country is all about is that we're born into this world. Eventually, we step into the educational arena, and then we get a job and we serve someone else by trading our time for their money. So the other thing that happens in this paradigm is that in the process, we incur a lot of debt. So our lives end up being serving someone else's agenda and serving this whole idea of debt. So how can you get out of that paradigm? Well, you have to find other ways to create the income that can address your debt, but also put yourself in a position where you can not be trapped into trading your time for money, and you can put yourself in a position where your money works for you. This is one of the things that the wealthy on the planet have done. They are in a situation where the wealth that they have creates additional money and finances for them to take them out of that treadmill that so many people are on. So this is a lesson that we all can learn, and it takes education. It takes financial literacy, but it also takes a holistic approach. Looking at yourself, mind, body, and spirit. Sometimes we pay a lot of attention to our physical well-being, but we don't pay a lot of attention to our mental well-being or our spiritual well-being. But all of these things work together. That's why they talk about a holistic approach. Kind of remind you about the title of this program, 360 Info Network. Well, 360 represents the circle, and 360 also represents wholeness. And if you think about it, and this is just coming to me in the moment right now, when you think about 360, you think about a zero. Now, people look at a zero and they think that zero is a negative because it represents nothing. But this is deep, folks, so bear with me as I explain this. Nothing absolutely represents that thing that we call God. I'm going to let that sit for just a few moments. Think about zero representing God, or whatever term you want to affix to that whole concept. So, a lot to unpack there, but 360 and holistic health, the marriage of mind, body, and spirit go a long way when you have those consciously ingrained in your mindset. When you have those things in your head, you can experience a better quality of life because you have a greater awareness of yourself. So, getting back to the whole idea of purpose, you can achieve someone else's purpose or you can achieve your own purpose. How do you achieve your purpose? Well, you have to go within and figure out what your purpose is. Now, one way that you can understand what your purpose is just having an awareness of what your talents are. There are some people who have artistic talent, so they can draw, they can sing, they can write, they can cook, they can dance. All these things involve some type of expression. And it is hopeful that the expression that comes through these various genres are things that can be edifying. It brings me to think about something recent, and that is our dear brother Andre 3000. Andre 3000 created an album, and it's been quite successful, and it has broken records. One of the records that it has broken is the track that is in the consciousness of people around the world, and I can't give you the title. It's kind of a long title, but it's 12 minutes long. And it's not what you would expect from Andre 3000 because he's a rap artist. He's known for bars, but this album does not have those kinds of bars. He actually plays flutes on this album. What I find interesting about Andre 3000 is that he's not necessarily trained as a musician in that sense, but he discovered flutes and he has quite a collection of them. And he engaged in a recording session, a number of recording sessions, and he created this product. What I like about it is that it is so different from anything that he has done before. And it really represents an evolution in terms of his awareness of music. And he did it because it was what was in him. But what I like about it is that it brings people inward, which is where we really need to be today. We really need to go inside ourselves because this is one of the ways that we discover what our purpose is. We discover it through introspection. We discover it through deep thought. We discover it by having an awareness of what our talents and our gifts are. And typically, if you attach yourself to your talents and your gifts, you can find your purpose. Some of us, like I just happen to know that my purpose is communication, and I use different methods and different means to communicate with people, whether it be through photography, whether it be through music, whether it be through the things that I write or things that I share with folks on social media platforms. I'm communicating information, I'm communicating ideas that somehow have an ability to change people's lives. So one thing that I post about on my Facebook page is nutrition. And I'll give information about certain foods and what they're able to do for you. I'll also provide information about things that may not be good for you. The crux of the matter is everything that you ingest affects you in some way or another. And the basic premise is it's either going to be good for you or it's going to be bad for you. So having that awareness, I post that information just so that people know that they have choices that they can make when it comes to the things that they put in their bodies. And it's also important to understand that everything that you ingest affects you on a cellular level. Every cell in your body responds to what you put in yourself. So if you're putting poisons in yourself, then those poisons affect every cell. And there are literally trillions of cells in your body. So you want to be mindful of the things that you're putting in your mouth, just because of the impact that they will have on your body. But another thing to think about as we have this conversation or this dialogue is that everything that you perceive in terms of information that you take in, could be television programs, it could be an album that you listen to, it could be articles that you read, it could be posts on social media, whether they be good or whether they be bad. All of those things have an impact on your mental state. So that's one of the reasons that it's important to be aware of what you're taking in. This is part of what some call a diet and what others call a lifestyle. So, lifestyle includes the things that are involved in your life. So you look at also the things that you put on your body. So when you go to the store, for instance, and you pick up that bottle of lotion and you look at the label, there are a whole bunch of ingredients on that label that you can't pronounce because they're so long. And many times those things are things that are derived from synthetic sources. So when you put something synthetic on your body, there's an impact. Because remember, I told you everything happens on a cellular level. Everything has a vibration. So when you take a poison into your body and it's vibrating at a certain frequency, it could be a low vibrational frequency and it could be something that could be detrimental to you. So again, that's one of the reasons that it's so important to have that awareness. Now, you could go to the store and get that lotion with 15 or 20 different ingredients with words that are so long that you can't pronounce them, or you could get some shea butter and it's basically pure shea butter. Might be just a few ingredients in it, natural though, and that shea butter has an ability to, minimize some of the scars or stretch marks or other blemishes that you might have on your body. And it does it effectively because there aren't negative chemicals that could affect you that way. So, again, all of these things are relative to diet. And as you navigate the course of this thing that we call life, you begin to learn that the choices that you make have either a beneficial or a detrimental impact on the quality of your life. And that's where the mindfulness comes in. So, again, I just want to remind folks of the importance of the solstice. This is coming up next week. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give you just a few tips about the solstice, and then we'll move forward. And we are also anticipating the arrival of another guest for our show this morning. He's Silas Ashley. He's president of the Kent State University Black Alumni Chapter. We're going to talk about education. We're going to talk about some of the things that the chapter is doing, and it's great stuff. They just recently had a beautiful event back in October on the 22nd, and we'll talk about that. But back to the solstice. So leading into the solstice, you want to go through a detoxification process, and you have a few different choices to detoxify. You can do an enema. I know for some it might be uncomfortable, but it's an effective way to remove toxins from your digestive system. You could take some magnesium citrate. That's going to really clean you out. So you definitely want to make sure that you're at home or close to home, because you may need to go to the bathroom a few times more than you ordinarily do. So just so that you can be aware of that. You can also do things like detox teas. There are certain herbs that are good at helping to clean you out. I know Trafala is one of those. That's one of the things that I use for detoxification. Another way to detoxify is just drinking a lot of water, hydration. Detoxification can also be accomplished with the sauna. You can go to a sauna, you can go to the steam room, and as you sweat, the toxins are released from your body. So detoxification is important because what you want to do is you want to take everything out of your system so that it keeps you from being grounded, and it allows you to ascend to higher states. It allows you to vibrate on a higher frequency. And I can tell you, when you go through a fast like this, you get to a point where you don't have a desire to eat. The experience that I had last year was getting to the end of 4 days, or even before the end of 4 days, and thinking, wow, can I push this a little further? What if I fast for 7 days? What if I fast for a couple of weeks? You get to a point where you're not eating, and even though you suffer from hunger pains from now and then, you don't miss the food. So personally, I just look at it as taking a break, giving my digestive system a chance to rest, and not having to expend the energy of elimination for a few days. It really is quite rewarding, I would say. So, I can't believe that I would actually look forward to not eating for 4 days, but honestly, I do that, and I do it twice a year. Now, the transition into the equinox is a little bit different. With the equinox, what we typically do is we consume a hot salad, and the hot salad consists of things like mustard greens, dandelion greens, endive, garlic, onions, horseradish, peppers. They're basically hot substances that have an ability to impact the body in a way that prepares you to enter the coming season. So you have solstices and you have equinoxes. You also have the benefits that come from fasting. So I'll just talk about this briefly. Fasting is really underrated. Us living in a consumer based society, we're always thinking about consumption. We wake up in the morning, and the first thing we do is we drink a cup of coffee, and we try to energize ourselves by using caffeine, and then we'll eat this full breakfast, and then we go to work, and we'll have a nice lunch, and then after we get off work, then we'll come home and we'll have this great big dinner. And then, if we're night owls or we're staying up late, the hunger pains come, and then we eat again. So, we might eat 3, 4, 5 meals a day. We might snack between meals. So we're engaged in this constant state of consumption, and that can be quite problematic. So, what we want to do is perhaps reduce the consumption and not eat as much as we always eat, because overconsumption is the issue. And overconsumption of protein is also an issue. So these are things that we just want to be mindful of as we navigate these seasons, and we navigate post pandemic, and, just doing all the things that we need to do to maintain optimum health. I'm going to step off the soapbox right now, and thank you for indulging me in this monologue of sorts. We have had some technical difficulties, but again, as always, we push through them. So I will let you know that we have been joined by Dr. Silas Ashley, and I'm just marveling at his prodigious crown. My brother, I see all that hair on your head. I'm telling you, I could be a little jealous, at a certain point in life, the hairline recedes, and you get bald spots here and there, and you become so conscious of it, but you have a full head of hair. I'm proud of you, brother. You're doing it good. Welcome to our program this morning.
Glad to
All
be here.
I'm glad to have you, brother, and thanks for coming to my rescue, because I know at a certain point, folks probably get tired of hearing me talk. But anyway, I'm
I,
glad to have you on the
I will
program.
I will say this: the hair is hereditary. I should have brought my 99-year-old mother over here so you can see her big white afro.
Okay, so she's got a fro and you've got half of it. All
A
right.
good one. That's a good one.
Yes. Well, again, I see that as a blessing, my brother, and I know that there are probably some folks who had to part with their hair long ago that probably see yours in a certain kind of way. So it's a great thing. Brother Silas, you represent Kent State University quite well. You have a history that's connected with that institution, and it's not, well, I won't say my relationship to Kent State is not as prodigious as yours. So I want to give you your flowers as you are still alive and navigating this thing called life. But let's talk about Dr. Silas Ashley and his relationship to Kent State University by virtue of the Black Alumni Chapter.
Well, the KSUBAC. See, can I stand and show my little shirt there? See that shirt there? KSUBAC. Got Kent State University Black Alumni Chapter. We are a affiliate of the overall Kent State University Alumni Association. We're one of 6 chapters that the university has. We pride ourselves in not being your typical alumni or alumni chapter. And I want to say typical, I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but a lot of times people associate alumni with 2 things: homecoming, and they usually have some sort of scholarship out there. So when you talk about alums, that's what you're usually talking about. And they have a mass gathering, at a certain point during the football season every year, and they have a scholarship thing that they give out, and then they basically disappear into the next annual thing, and it goes on and so forth. We have a different projection on things. Yes, we are prevalent doing homecoming, and yes, we have a scholarship through a university and all of those other good things. But our chapter, we feel that even though we are alums, we still should be an integral part of the university in terms of direction, etc., particularly for its minority students, because we have gone on out there in the world, and we kind of see how the world acts and reacts to us. And so we have a dearth of knowledge that we can bring back to our legacies following us. So in order to do that, we have always felt that we need to do things that allows the university community to know that we are there. And we should also keep our strong affinity, our kinship to Oscar Ritchie Hall, which houses the Department of Africana Studies. So that's a quick overview as to what we're about and what we do, and we do this year round.
Yes, you do it year round, and I just happen to be on the receiving end of emails that you send, and it's prodigious, but it means that you are very thoroughly engaged in the work and moving the needle forward. A couple months ago, you had an event at the Kent State University's Student Center, which I'm proud to say is named after Dr. E. Timothy Moore, who was one of our colleagues there. Talk to us about the significance of the event that we pulled off.
Yes, that was a historic event to say the least. And it was the outgrowth of, and I'll just call it negligence on the university for decades. Negligence in that they had not taken the time over the decades to recognize those people who have come through Kent, graduated from Kent, went on their lives, and had done some outstanding things in their respective communities and nationally. It didn't make any sense from our perspective that all these decades, these people have done these things, and now they're in the mature, we call it, I'm gonna be nice about it, mature stages of life, and they have not been recognized. It's not that Kent State didn't have a means to recognize people, but that means that they had used over decades, first of all, only recognized too few people. And that's in all cultures and races. Too few people. The criteria was kind of structured so that we couldn't win because of just starting off in the corporate world, the glass ceiling. So we were locked out of the situation where we should have been knee deep in it because of the things that these people had done. So to make a long story short, we embarked on the initiative to try to rectify that, at least the beginning process. So we decided that we were going to have this awards and recognition celebration, and we were going to acknowledge some of those who have been overlooked in the past. The university actually, Vince, you may not know this, we were only allotted 5 slots. Okay. And through some innovation and finagling, we ended up recognizing probably between about 30, 35 people doing various aspects because we we called it an awards and recognition celebration. So we kind of used the word recognition to pull in some of these people that were going to get overlooked again. So we got them in there, and instead of actually having 5 recipients, we ended up having 9. So that just was an outstanding thing in the ballroom, hosted by Vince Robinson. And I had to add this because I had to really give him a shout out. You know, in putting this together, we wanted to really do this first class, top shelf. Naturally, it was going to cost us some money that we didn't have at the time, but we were able to get some people to come in. And one of the things that I personally wanted was, I said, I wanted to have an orchestra there. You know, a lot of times people don't see orchestras nowadays because they come in there, they pipe in music, or they may have a couple of musicians there and that's it. But we wanted to have an orchestra, and we was able to pull it off because one of our graduates, Dr. Fred Wheat, he actually has an orchestra, and so he agreed to come. And during the event, Vince, the president whispered to me, he said, "This is amazing. You have an orchestra here." And I said, "Yeah." You see, the director of the orchestra and 4 of the members in the orchestra are Kent grads. This is what I'm talking about. See, you didn't even know. This is what we're trying to make the university aware of all the things that we have out there. They're all around, and they love their university. You know, they would do things for the university if asked, or if just recognized. And that's what that night was all about. It was a historic event, and I have to give kudos to our host there, because he had to do things, you know, on the spot, and I knew he could handle it because he and Fred had worked together, and so the night went smoothly. And it was just an outstanding event, and I'm still smiling about it because of the reception and reviews we got for it.
All right. We're going to talk a little bit more about that event, and also talk about some of the people who were honored, because I think it's really important that the public know the caliber of folks that were honored, and just, you know, how important it is for us to honor ourselves as opposed to waiting for others to do it for us, because if we wait for them, many times it will never happen. So this is one of those things, or one of those situations where you take initiative and you get results. We're winding down our broadcast right here on AM 1490 WERE, but I want to remind everybody who's listening right now that you can continue to watch and you can continue to listen to our program on our streaming platforms. We are streaming live to YouTube right now. We're also streaming live to the 360 Info Network Facebook page, as well as my personal Facebook page. And after this broadcast ends, you'll be able to see the program in its entirety on YouTube. And saying that, I think it's really important to also ask, and I don't do a lot of this, but I'm going to ask those of you who are tuned in on YouTube and Facebook to please like and subscribe to the pages. If you like and subscribe, you'll get notifications about our programs coming up in the future, and you'll also have access to all of the programs that we have posted to the channel. Right now, there are over 350 programs, because we're basically posting at least 2 programs per week. So continue to listen on AM 1490, but you can see us live on the streaming platforms, and that will begin at the top of the hour. So what I will do now is just basically thank our engineer for making this broadcast possible. We pulled it off at the very last minute. So thank you, man. I appreciate you. And I will also say to our listening audience, as always, know yourself, love yourself, be yourself, make today your absolute best day. And with that, we'll be migrating over to YouTube and Facebook. Thanks for joining us today. All right, we're at the top of the hour, and I will let everyone know that we have with us on the line and on the air Dr. Silas Ashley. He is an attorney. He's also an educator. He's someone who has a great awareness of what's going on in the world, and we'll talk about a few things relative to education, the state of education in the state of Ohio, and perhaps he's also a Florida resident, so we can talk about what's going on down in Florida. But I want to go back to the awards ceremony that we had at Kent State University, and just big up the folks who were on the receiving end of those awards. one of whom is very dear to me because he's involved in the world of jazz. And of course, you know, Silas, jazz is one of my favorite things in life. And I'm speaking of Brother Willard Jenkins.
Yeah. Willard Jenkins is the consummate jazz critic in the nation. I want to say that one more time. Willard Jenkins is the consummate jazz critic in the United States. Homo guy knows his jazz because he actually lives it. He Kent State grad, 73. He had a jazz show while he was at Kent, and he just parlayed that because he loved jazz so into just a career. When I moved to New York after I graduated Kent in 74, and he went to DC, he would come up and he would pile in. We would all stay. I would stay at my cousin's house. We pile in there, talk jazz, go see some shows, and he would go back. And over the years, he began to just develop his knowledge of jazz, allowed him to get in those circles. And then in terms of broadcasting it out and putting it out there to the mainstream audience, he was in the forefront, and it kept building. He established relationships throughout the industry and throughout with all of the major artists. And when they put something out, he would review it, and he would give it the good, the bad, and the ugly. And he had a show on. He still has it on Wednesdays, called Ancient Future, where he again promoting jazz. Just an outstanding brother. And next year, 2024, the National Education of Art, NEA, is going to recognize him at the Kennedy Center in April next year. We're going to be there to watch that brother get his award, another award. At the event that Vince is talking about, Kent State University awarded Willard the Lifetime Achievement Award. And again, he was his typical Willard self,
Yes.
As were all of the recipients there. And I know that Vince was beaming, when Willard got called up because of the Kent State family. We just, it's a family like that. It's a family thing. And so for him to get that from the university was really, really an honor that he cherished. He really did. He put it out there when he got back to DC. I said, well, I'm glad that we're up there with the NEA when it comes to your recognition of awards and how you feel about them. And he says, oh yeah, my Kent State. Yeah. That's where the roots. That's where it all started.
Right. And I also want to give Willard credit for the success of the Tri-C Jazz Fest here in Cleveland, because for a season he was the artistic director, and he was bringing in the heavyweights. Now he's serving as the artistic director of the DC Jazz Festival, which happens on Labor Day weekend, which kind of conflicts with the Detroit Jazz Festival. But I told Willard, I might have to defect to DC.
It's it's funny you say that, Vince, because I have tried to nudge him. I said, you know what? I know people don't like to change, but it makes no sense for two outstanding jazz fests to be held simultaneously, and it makes all of your Northeast family. It's hard because obviously y'all come in DC, say, man, I got to get to Detroit, and it's fair. It's fair in terms of it being competitive, but it need not be. We got to figure out one way to move one of them to another weekend. There are 51 other weekends that can be used. It would seem to me that we can figure this out. Really can.
Yeah. Well, I would be a fan of maybe moving the DC Jazz Festival to the following weekend so we could do Detroit and DC. I think that's a plausible
I'll throw that out.
Yeah, I don't know how the folks. Yeah, I don't know how the folks in DC would feel about that, but it certainly would make us happy. And then, we also wouldn't be competing with the Chicago Jazz Fest again, which happens on Labor Day weekend. Yes. So
that's Labor Day as well?
Yes.
Labor Day. I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So consequently, I've been going to Detroit on Labor Day weekend every year since 1991.
Oh, yeah. That's a big move to get to DC then, but we're gonna work on that.
Yes. So, among some of the other honorees, I'm thinking of Renee Richard, who is right now presiding over the Tri-C Corporate College and has quite an extensive history. What would you like to share about her?
I would like to share when I speak of Renee, I it kind of is a segue into education because I think that as a whole, our perception of education has been co-opted. You know, we think of education. I'm gonna say we. I'm gonna put my generation and one before me, my parents. You know, education was it meant that you go off to college. All right, and then whatever they're offering at college, whatever the discipline is, you get one of them things, and then you come out there, and then you're educated. And there's no definition of what education is and what you're supposed to strive for. We just knew that quote that's what other folks was doing, so therefore we need to do it as well. So the emphasis was just on going this here and then having others really guide your path because we didn't know. I didn't know what these, what a major was, what it entailed, and how it's supposed to impact on my life later on. It's only a couple. You knew if you want to become a doctor what that meant. Somewhat a law, but you had to do so much work after the undergrad till that was always something in the distance. So a lot of people went to education, sociology, things of that nature. Now I say that in reference to Renee is she is the president of the corporate college here in Cleveland. She's also the general counsel for Tri-C, and they have embarked on two things. Let me start with the corporate college. They have a center for entrepreneurship that's at the corporate college now. And what makes that extraordinary is that it allows young folks the opportunity in becoming entrepreneurs. You see, the listener audience, you may not look at Vince as an entrepreneur, but he is. Now, you got to ask him, so how did you get to be this? Well, they didn't necessarily have schools or courses that said entrepreneurship for what I'm doing. We kind of had to go out there and we stumble along, and we got the good, we got the bad, and we learned from it what we did. Well, through the corporate college now up there, what they do is you literally can go in and take courses on how to be an entrepreneur, and they have things right there for you to utilize. They have rooms there for you to get your stuff on, to have a mini office to get your materials out, whatever the thing is that business you're trying to create there. You have people that's giving you expertise and how to do things. It's taking education, I call, out of the box, out of the realm of what we're used to seeing there. And it's really designed and emphasizes our community. And if you go down to Tri-C, the same thing. They have a lot of courses now that's structured toward things that we call blue collar back in the day, because we didn't understand that getting skills in those fields made you a professional as well. If my power goes out in my house, I don't want to call a lawyer. I want to call an electrician to come there. Heaven forbid the toilet goes out again. I don't want to call a sociologist. I need to call me a plumber. So these are professionals that particular institution emphasizes, and it's taking that term education to a level where it is actually becomes an integral part of what happens in our community. And lastly, on that, as it relates to her and trying to navigate that, because you got to balance this out. And I want to use one term that we use now that's thrown out there that we don't understand its significance. And that term is just a simple word. It calls platform. Well, when we were coming up, Vince, a platform meant, something basic what someone does, simple that in its generic terms. Right. But see, when you start talking about platforms as it relates to Bitcoins, things of that nature, platforms in terms of relates to social media, what it does when you understand what that terminology is, you end up having cross-generational connections, because the young now see, oh, you know what a platform is? Say, yeah. And then we say to them, you know what a platform is? Guess what? We have a connection there. You see, and when you get a connection there, you end up having more communication between various generations because you're speaking the same language. All of that is incorporated in the educational process now. And you know, Renee has been an integral part of that in terms of the leadership at Tri-C and at the corporate college.
Well, you know, it's really rewarding to know that there are resources out there for folks who want to be an entrepreneur or want to advance their learning. And what you said about education is so true. But I also think that it's important to understand how education is a lifelong process. And sometimes we restrict it to the years that we're sitting in a classroom, but some would say that that's not actually education, that's really more training. You know, when you look at the reason that the education paradigm was created, it was to train workers so that they would trade their time for money and serve their debt. And we talked a little bit about that in the first hour of the show. But when you really look at education, it's a lifelong thing. I mean, I'm kind of up there. I'm not quite where you are. I'm just a few years back. But you know, when I reflect on the pandemic, for instance, there were so many things that I learned, even related to what I do in broadcasting. I mean, 30 years ago, they didn't have this technology. So it required that I learn how to use it in order to do exactly what we're doing right now. And if I had just rested upon having a Bachelor of Arts in telecommunications, but I didn't further the education process, we wouldn't have this show on the air right now. So
Amen.
education, lifelong.
Amen. And you know, let me piggyback on that for 30 seconds. And that is when teaching, I always have the students take out their cell phones. It's two things for more for the female, the cell phones. For the males, I tell them, have you ever played John Madden football game? And they all nod their heads. And I say, you see, it came out in '89, the Madden out there. You know what the difference between a Madden '89 and one now? And then I take the young lady and say, take your cell phone. You know what the cell phone looked like in 1990? You know, I tell you what, go look at the movie New Jack City and see what they were using back then and see what you have now. And my point is that it's always evolving. So you can't stay in one place. You know, you have to be ready. You have to be fluent. You have to be able to evolve as things evolve. If you mess around there and will it say sleep, guess what? You end up behind and it becomes that much more difficult to catch up. Vince, as you know, even back with your young self, it's people back there with you. You know that with my generation who refuse to engage in technology because they scared because they've been sleeping so long, they're scared of it. So therefore, they want to hang on to that which is passe now. They do that all the time. You have to stay fluid. You have to. Same way when I came on earlier, you were talking about health the same way, because the results is if you do not stay on top of things and see what's going on, it's going to affect you negatively in the long run. And we
Yeah.
see that experience it all the time.
Yeah. I mean, you have to, you know, just think if you don't embrace cell phone technology and you try to navigate life, you're going to encounter some extreme difficulties. And so, you know, and then sometimes it's just more convenient, you know. Think about how things have changed when we do something like going for an airplane flight. You know, just recently I traveled out of state, and you know, I'm old school, so I like to have the piece of paper. You know, I'll put it in my breast pocket or whatever. You know, but sometimes things get lost or whatever. You know, but you got your phone. So I was able to get on the plane with my phone because there's an app and a QR code or some type of barcode that can be read with a scanner. And so you don't need that piece of paper, you've got your phone. Now, the issue though with the phones is that, well, if the phone loses power, then what you gonna do? You know, so they have you trapped in this paradigm. But you know, it's just that technology changes and you have to keep up with the times. You know, you could still be with that horse and that buggy while people are riding electric cars, not polluting the air, You know, you don't have to pick up the apples that the horses leave on the street. You know, at a certain point, you just have to adapt to change, and that's where we are. And our generation, the baby boomer generation, we have different values, we have different ideas, which is why we push back on technology. But you know, with the rapid advances in technology, we just don't have a choice. You either join the race or you get left out, and you'll be sitting on the sidelines watching everybody do what they want to do. But I want to endorse, however, however, I want to endorse old school because you can look at a picture of the sky or you can look at the sky. And what you get from looking at the sky with your naked eye is a lot different than putting on a set of goggles and looking at a screen. You know,
See, we have to capture that balance in there, Vince. The key is that balance in there.
yeah,
We don't want to get inundated going one way, forgetting about how we got there with the other. You know, keeping
yeah,
that balance, and that's our job to keep
right,
that balance. You know,
yeah,
that's our job to do that.
right. Well, and another thing, since we're on this idea of technology, but also embracing the past, is something as simple as reading a book,
Oh my
holding
goodness.
a physical book in your hands and reading it with your eyes as opposed to holding a phone and looking at an ebook. That there's a different tactile experience that happens as a result of that. And that's something that, you know, we really have to fully embrace, just the idea of reading, you
Yes,
know,
yes.
because as in a general sense, it's not just black folk, it's
Oh,
people across the country who don't read books.
Vince, you are so on point. I tell my granddaughters all the time, you have to read. They say, well, why, Papa? Because see, don't let Disney be your imagination. If you read, guess what? You're gonna have to imagine something on your own, and you're gonna bring forth that which is in you. And it's your imagination that creates creativity within you and brings forth a whole dimension of you that is suppressed when you rely on others to be the imagination for you. You must read it because it requires you to disseminate that which you read. You got to do that. It's imperative. We do not read. Guess what? That means somebody's always just telling you something all the time, and you are the victim as to what they are saying to you. What's wrong with
Yes.
youngsters? All they do is listen to him. That's their problem, you know. But that's another
I'm
subject. But yeah,
Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought that up because it just underscores the importance of who's giving you the information. You know, we have been misinformed for a long time because we have been told certain things about ourselves, first of all, that aren't true. And second of all, that are intended to keep us away from knowing who we are. Uh, we're a very special people, Silas, a very special people. And in many ways, we don't understand our full value and our full worth because of what we've been told about ourselves. And what I'm speaking about is what we get in terms of history. I'm happy to say that there are a lot more sources for information relative to our history. You know, I'm speaking in terms of social media, and I think it's partly a consequence of interest. So if you're on social media and you're exploring things that relate to Black history and African history, what the algorithms will do is they will send you more things that relate to that. So if you
yes,
really want to know truth about history, there are folks on this planet and in this universe that want you to know. So we can't use the excuse that the information is not there or it's not available. But what it's up against is the purveyors of those who want to give you additional information or other information. And it could be misinformation or it could be disinformation. But there is an agenda at play to prevent you from knowing the truth. You mentioned your involvement in education and having students and whatnot. Tell us a little bit about your career or your path as an educator.
Well, my path as an educator is in the area of history, basically, and with a little smidget of paralegal studies. I had to develop a whole course curriculum for paralegal studies in Louisiana. But in terms of history, in 1994, of all places, the state of Florida actually made a mandate legislatively that Black history be taught in the schools, and I was able to be at the forefront in terms of developing a curriculum for that in the late 1990s. Uh, this is before our present administration came in, and naturally they got rid of all of that and everything related to actually Black history. But we was able to, through the Black history courses, create a whole generation of students who got what I call a enough to wet their whistle, so that when they went on out in life or they went on to further education, they had they were armed with enough to make them want to investigate further, and that was the goal from the high school level. Well, now this is a recent development. The When the state came down and made all these crazy rules that are related to Black history, and they were denying the AP course and all of that. I made a challenge to uh, the community and form of the churches in that said, instead of running around demonstrating in the Capitol about what the uh, governor is doing. Have you checked with the various institutions here in the state? I'm talking about the HBCUs, and see what courses they offer related to Black history. If you do that, you will find that you don't have one that gives you a major you can graduate in it. So sometimes we had to clean our house up first. Secondly, the church was always at the forefront in the whole ethos of presenting Black history to the community. So I don't understand why they can't do the same thing now. Okay, so what if the state is saying that they won't teach it? That don't mean it can't be taught. We have a church in every corner. That don't mean it can't be taught in our community. And I must say that the general church structure in the state of Florida took up the challenge, and they have now developing courses and a structure so that is going to be starting in January. Actually, be taught at various churches throughout the state, and I think it's going to really gather some steam because there's a genuine interest, and it can be part of your Sunday service. If you only did a moment, what's going to happen is that people are going to want to know more than one moment, and one moment is going to become 2 minutes, and there's going to be that they're going to want to have a various courses that can be taught church various times during the week, Friday, Saturday, anytime that structure is closed. So right now I'm working diligently on that, and I want to come back on this show a year later and say, this is where we are, Vince. We got this thing rolling here now, because we are going to make this happen, and we don't need the state to be the one to be in the forefront of making these things happen. It can be done right in our various communities.
Well, the truth of the matter is we have to take it upon ourselves to do that, because if we rely on them, we'll never get the truth.
Amen. I didn't want to say that. I'm glad you said it. That's right. That's
you
true.
know, I'll just go ahead and say it. If someone has been oppressing you over a period of 450 years, why would they change their mind and begin to give you information that will give you an ability to overthrow the oppression?
There you have it. There you have it.
They're not going to give you the tools for liberation. they're going to give you tools to keep you in bondage. And I want to go back to that idea of debt, because the debt is the slavery. That's the slavery of the 21st century. To keep people in a position where inflation happens, what do? You get another job, earn more money to cover your debt.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you give up the freedom to live your life as you would choose to live it, and as opposed to living your life as you want to because you can. This is what we have to do to create freedom.
Yes. And when someone like you says that, what happens is those who don't want anything to change, or red flag jumps up there. Oh, what's he saying? Well, we got to make sure that we have something on at the same time he's on that's going to attract their social interest, so that they remain ignorant to what the truth is, because it's that truth out there that's really is the scary thing about it. And that's why you use my term again, or the term is out there. That's why there's certain platforms that you have to go out, research, and discover. And then it's within those platforms that information is given out. Because what you do is you give out information through your guests here, and personal commentary that's designed to make a person want to investigate further. That when they investigate further, they start to unravel other falsehoods that they thought were truths in the past, and it goes on and on and on, because this is a yarn that's been spun tight for, as you say, for 450 years, and we're just at the beginning process of unraveling it. When we understand it from that perspective, then we understand where we need to go and how we need to do it, because it's ongoing. And there's a lot of people who are not only afraid to say what you just said, is that they don't want to hear that, because it makes them feel that, you mean all this, unbelieving is always a hard thing. It's always a hard thing, And I use this quick example. I say, you imagine someone who went X amount of years to obtain what they call a degree or certification, something, and then they discover that it's all wrong or for naught. They're not going to say, well, okay, it's all wrong. They're going to say, well, if I went this long to get this thing here, I'm going to do whatever I can to keep perpetuating this thing, because it took me this long to get it. So therefore, we end up having certain leaders who perpetuate this foolishness, because they don't want to admit that which they had learned and honor they had received all this time previously ain't worth a hill of beans.
Yeah.
It boils
Well,
down to,
I think about this often, and that is just the game of education. The way they have things structured right now, they make it unaffordable. So if you want to get that education that's supposed to guarantee you a certain station in life, and you can't afford it, then you have to borrow money in order to obtain that degree. And then you're stuck with that debt many times for the rest of your life, but they make it such that it can't even be discharged. So if you have progeny, that debt is transferred to them. It's the only form of debt that's unforgivable. You can't be eliminated through bankruptcy, And then when you look at what the country's number one asset is, guess what it is, Dr. Ashley? It's student loan debt.
Oh, that speaks volumes right there. Okay.
That says a lot. It says a lot. So America's greatest asset is student loan debt. That is money that is owed for this education process. And the other irony to me is that you could spend all that money to get a degree and have all that debt for the rest of your life, but no guarantee that you will get the job for which you got the degree, and no guarantee that that job will be able to service that entire debt. Now, that's a real catch-22 from my perspective.
90% of the time, it can't service that debt, because up to a couple of years ago, they had interest that was akin to the old Sears and Roebuck interest, compounded daily kind of stuff there, kind of stuff the IRS still does, which means that you never catch up, so you're servicing that debt for a lifetime. And if you don't have a position that makes you quite successful after you get into it, then you are stuck. And there is no getting out like that. And now that you said that it's number one in terms of what the government considers an asset, then no, there's not going to be many changes in it. So what we have to do to our subsequent generations is to ensure that they don't. Maybe when in pursuing education, they need to take a different route. You see, as opposed to take our alma mater. Cost them like between 22 and 25 grand a year to go there. You know what it cost? We went there wasn't like that. I
Right.
can go to steel mill work in the summer and pay for my next fall, fall tuition. Okay, so if you're getting now, this just Kent, 22 to 25. You multiplying that by four. I ain't got the housing yet. I just need to be in the school. That's 100. That's 100 grand if you come out on time. All right. So that's just tuition. So that being said, upon graduating, and you have your bachelor's now, you have something that has to be serviced, and then heaven forbid if you want to do something on a graduate level, or you go into your field and you realize that it takes all that job is paying you just for you to now live because you're no longer a college student, you're out there in the world. So I mean, as you are pointing out, it becomes a catch-22, and then you wonder what happened here. I thought I was getting ahead when you find out no. Does that well? Maybe that means now we need to restructure and rethink how we approach education. Could community
Yeah.
college be more advantageous for the first couple of years when you get yourself together, and then you guess what? You get your associates. It costs what uh, a pittance of what it would cost to go to the 4 year, and then you do your last 2 years at the 4 year institution, and you're out of there. Your debt is manageable, and guess what? You got two pieces of paper. You got an associates, and you have your bachelor's. So your marketability actually increases. We may need to start thinking upon along those lines, because it doesn't matter whether you're going to a school kid like we went to, or you went to a HBCU. They cost as well. You have to understand now the dynamics of what's the cost benefit. See, we start talking about that word again, Vince, education. What's the cost benefit in terms of what I'm going to be engaged in my life there? Can you imagine something? Let's take a university real quick, like Duke, because I had a friend who had sent their child at Duke, who majored in education, and Duke cost $65,000 a year. I said,
Mm.
why would you send your child to Duke for $65,000 a year, knowing that when they get out, because you paying the bill there, let's do the math. 4 times 6 is 24. So $250,000 you spent for your child to get a degree in education, to go out there and teach and make $40,000 a year, can't sustain themselves. Well, who's gonna pay that $250,000 that's sitting out there in debt just because you can say you went to Duke and you a Blue Devil? It's not
Yeah.
logical. You
Well,
see, it's
it
not
seems
logical.
yeah, it seems like an ego thing more so
It
than a
is.
practical thing. And I'm just, as you say that, I'm thinking, well, dag, $250,000. If you invested that, you could create capital that would enable you to create a business that would sustain you for the rest of your life. But getting back to the education model, they didn't want to train us to be entrepreneurs. They wanted to train us to be workers. So we don't think about expanding and growing wealth. We just think about being able to tread water and keep our head over the top of the surface of it, and then perhaps get to the age of, it used to be 62. I think now it's kind of 72 right now, because they're saying, well, you need to work later in life. You need to wait before you collect your Social Security. You need to be part of this whole paradigm of employment so that you can possibly enjoy life. But as you are the evidence of, Dr. Ashley, the most productive years in life are the later years.
Mm-hmm.
When you get
Yes.
into the 60s and you get into the 70s, I look at people like you, Dr. Quad David Whitaker, our brother Wayne Chandler, who's in New York presenting today, you
Dr.
know,
Brown. Yeah.
Dr. Brown,
Yeah.
when you look at the impact that people have, it comes later in life, you
Yeah.
know. So to be able to be productive in those years and not have the constraints of 40 hours that you have to give an employer, every week, there are just beautiful things that can happen when you are the pilot of the ship. And that brings us to the realization that every one of us is the captain of our own ship that's navigating this course through the universe. And we like to think of other people and other things being in control, but ultimately, We're the ones in control. And what controls this ship is the choices that we make in life. So
Yeah.
some of us choose to not get that degree. I'm going to give you an example of someone that didn't necessarily need that degree, and now they're a billionaire. I call him BGZ. Some people call him Bill Gates. But look at the impact that he's having on the world. He doesn't have a college degree, but we get this drummed
Nope.
into us all the time. Get an education, get the degree, do all that. But as we stated earlier, it's no guarantee of success in life. But that just comes back to what we do to nurture our young people now. I give people, young people all the time, I give them this nugget. Find your purpose in life, assign yourself to something that you would do and not get paid, but brought you fulfillment in life. And when you do that, you'll get paid for it because there's value in it, especially if it's something of a positive nature. So you can do that and not worry about, am I going to be able to feed myself? Will I be able to take care of my family? If you assign yourself to your purpose and you have the right mindset, things will unfold for you.
Always. When I say, when you what you say is a mouthful, because always. And we were instructed a certain kind of way because of the environment our elders had at the time. Get educated and you're getting a job. It wasn't get educated and you go do for yourself. Only a few took that gamble. When you get out, you want to get you a nice job. So now the evolution process through social media, through things changing in the environment, it's that word entrepreneurship came up. I just loved how when I was speaking about Duke, and you said when you came back and said it just came to my mind. I did the numbers. See, we're doing the numbers in our head now. Well, $240,000. What? I can invest it. I can start my own, and guess what? Whatever I was gonna get out of Duke, I can still get there. And if I delayed it 5 years and I still want to be on an ego trip, I have enough money to pay for Duke if I wanted to go to Duke. But the reality is, I may realize that Duke ain't all that for me. It never was. It's just that it was a picture that was painted that made me believe I had to aspire toward that without asking to what and to for what end. That's where we need to be in our process now. We have to get off the grid. We have to think outside the box because we have opportunities to do such. And in doing such, it will allow us to see things that we never saw before and to take advantage of these things. That's all your show does. That's all the platform you could do deal with do. You're taking, I got 24 hours in a day. I don't care who you are on the planet, that's what you got. However you figure out 24 hours. Now, you can take that time making others reap the benefits, make the other ones be in Miami, the Caribbean, wherever they want to be, while that income is working for them because you're making it work. You know, you can do things for your community that will make your community come up while you in the same time are enjoying what life is about. Because ultimately, when we're chasing what we used to call the rat race back in the day, you're trying to find out how to make life better for you. Well, we can do that using mechanisms that weren't taught to us previously because others have done it and they have been successful. The proof is out there. It can be done. We just have to have the willingness to go forth and change how we have been indoctrinated in the past. And then when we get that out, see, we flush that out of our system, then we're ready to replace it with something that will be much more constructive and will allow us to move forward individually and as a people.
Yeah, as you bring that up, I'm just thinking about the employment paradigm and how that has changed. So there was a time when people would put in their 40 hours a week. The company that they worked for would pay their health benefits, might set them up with a retirement account, 401k, and all of that. But now we're seeing an extreme paradigm shift because of technology. So a lot of the jobs that used to exist don't exist anymore because technology is accomplishing that. I just happen to be a voiceover artist and I'm online all the time. And so I'm watching videos that have a non-human voice. I mean, it's a human voice, but it's a synthetic human voice. It's
Absolutely.
artificial intelligence. And the thing about this artificial intelligence is that as intelligent as it is supposed to be, it still does not pronounce all of the words correctly.
Henry Sanders.
That's right.
So you're saying that the technology is better than the human being, but the technology has limitations. So what's going on right now in terms of this paradigm shift is that the technology is eliminating jobs. So that means that we have to do things a little bit differently. So when you look at where the employment is right now, the employment is on the internet.
Now, well,
So
let me interrupt for just 1 second. When you say that, then can we restate what you just said? It's not that it's eliminating jobs. I look at it from the perspective of it's creating new jobs. Because and I'm saying it from a psychological perspective. When one assumes something is being eliminated, then in your mind, well, this is gone. No, it's something new out there. Okay, it's some new stuff out there. So I can't do it this way because this here has allowed me to have another avenue. It's another avenue within the construct of AI that will allow me to do some things that actually were trivial before, because now I can make the AI do some things in terms of voiceover that allow me to sell that to somebody for I can actually make more money from me as an entrepreneur. You see, so I just
right.
want to say your point is your own point. I'm just saying instead of something being eliminated, I look at it from the perspective of new opportunity.
Well, what I was getting to was that there is a new opportunity as a result of the quote unquote elimination of the job. So if you don't get the job as a voiceover artist, you can go online. This is one of those side hustle type situations. You can go online and find a script and then use a bot to voice the script and then sell that script to someone who
That's what I'm
wants to
talking.
push that out there.
That's what I'm
So
talking about.
so in essence, what has happened is they've changed the task. It's all about tasks being fulfilled. And because the company that's hiring you to do that task doesn't have to pay your health benefits, they don't have to pay for your electricity and your overhead and all that other kind of stuff, but they will pay you for the task. It means that you find the opportunity in the task and you benefit from the task and use it to your advantage. So I'm
Yes.
saying this for the benefit of all the folks out there who are saying, I can't find a job. You're not looking in the right place.
Right.
You have to go to where the jobs are, and the jobs are on the internet. So if
Yeah.
you're long in the tooth and you want to push back from technology, this is one of those situations where you have to do that 180. Because when you get to that particular place in life where you're on fixed income and there's a limit to the resources that are available to you, then you have to find that pivot that allows you to find those resources so that you can expand your opportunity. Otherwise, if you can afford it, just be sitting on the couch. And if you're technologically inclined to any extent, you can put those goggles on and go to Bali and not get on the plane and fly there and breathe the air and put your feet in the water and all that stuff. I
all, all of the above, my brother. Right.
Yes,
Well
indeed.
stated.
Indeed. I took it upon myself to go to one of the side hustle websites a couple of days ago, and I found out that it is as simple as registering. You can go online and take surveys that are relevant to you. For instance, I suggested to one person that they go online and check this website because you could actually agree to do a 1 hour interview about your facial care. How do you take care of your face? And you can have a conversation with someone about that. And at the end of an hour, they'll send $150 to your PayPal account. So you just made $150 in 1 hour. Now just think, you could take 3 surveys in one day, each for $150, and in one day make $450 in 3 hours.
Yeah.
Or you could go to the 7-Eleven, stand behind the counter, let somebody pay you $12, $13 an hour, and at the end of 8 hours, and then Uncle Sam gonna take his chunk, county gonna take their chunk. So that $15 an hour is really more like $10 an hour. So at
Mhm.
the end of 8 hours, you got $80, or you were sitting at home on a computer or a phone having a conversation with somebody for 3 hours, and you made $450.
Right, and see the difference. I have a friend who does substitute teaching in Cleveland, and he was talking about, man, I get it's like $140 to $160 a day, but actually my take home after 2 weeks it comes down to $100, for a day. I said, you are highly educated and you're getting $100 because you weren't creative in terms of utilization of your talents. You're going in there subbing, and those who that's what they have to do, that's all well and good. But creativity is part of the name of the game in today's world. What you just talk about being innovative, that's all. That's just innovative. Okay, I'm going to take my time. What I do with my within my 24-hour structure, minus sleeping, is that I'm going to figure out how I'm going to maximize it. All right, what you just said didn't require the person to ever leave home. All right, the sub got to get up, drive to the school, dress a certain kind of way, be there for X amount of hours to get this pittance. You see, when all they had to do was, everybody, they at least have some type of computer equipment there that they could have went to the site and said, "Wow, I can do this." Yes, you can. And the example you gave is one amongst many. But again, it's that whole concept, Vince. I keep going back to, you got to clean that stuff out you got in your head now, and then reconstruct how you vision things, how you envision things. And that will allow you then to fill that void there you get with something that is useful for you. And when you do that, your world changes. It's like the example of folks when they go to, when they get converted, they go to the church. Well, guess what? All conversion is, think about what this when you say you getting converted. That means from what? That means you were in one state of mind, all right, then you went to another state of mind. You see, so from a religious perspective, you should be able to understand this. It's conversion. Well, that means that when you go and sit there in church, you talk about how all these things that were effectively negatively, you now just realize that I can see the light. That is also the same. It's the exact same thing in terms of your everyday life. You got to get that out of there. Then you got to get converted to something new, and then you learn that yes, you see the light. You see the light. I sound like the Blues Brothers. When they did the movie, you can see the light. Yes, because you got that old stuff out of there. And when you put the new stuff in, it affects everything around your whole demeanor. Everything about you changes because you've been converted to something else. That's what we
Yeah.
have to do within our community in particular.
So, Dr. Silas, you've been able to enjoy a career that's seen you in the field of law and the field of education, and you just shared some essential ingredients. Can you talk about additional ideas of what enabled you to be as successful as you have been?
Friends and family. In life, it's not a solo journey. It is a journey whereby you encounter a myriad of people all over the place. The more you go, the more, be it travel, be it your profession, be it things that you just engage in. You engage all of these people. Now, when I reflect, I say, see, when you were young, I mean, I'm talking about your elementary, middle school, and high school, it was structured. See, you grew up in your neighborhood, you go to schools in your neighborhood, and then you end up going to your high school, and you form these bonds that you got. Okay, these are the people we call it, this is the people I grew up with. The interesting thing about that is we have to take that phrase exactly for what it is. These are the people I grew up with. All right, now that you have grown up, what do you do now? Well, I mean, it could be sad or it could be good. Some of them folks you grew up with, now that you have grown up and you realize what life is about, they may not be what you need to have within your particular life. So then you have to move forward and then get some more people who you engage in the next part of your life, and so on and so forth, as you mature, as you deconstruct that which has been implanted into you all your life. You encounter these people, and you encounter people who can be an asset to you, and they become your new friends, and you have this bond because you know that you're traversing life together on a similar path. And you retain these people so that when you have shortcomings, again, we go back to the church and they say trials and tribulations, you have these people who you can rely on to help you. So yes, in my life, I wouldn't trade my friends for nothing, man. Because when they go back and tell what they have done, and then you compare things like this, you say, "Oh, okay, we can do this here." And as you know, a lot of them do things that are not conventional. And what we go, well, guess what? What you find out is that, oh, I'm not the only one out here trying to think in a different mindset, and so you latch on to them. We always laugh when Dr. Brown or myself and Wayne, we get in my mother's backyard. We had these conversations like, man, can you imagine this here? Because it's outside of the norm of things. But it becomes normal for us because this is what we got to do. This is where we got to go. When I sit and talk to you, you say, man, A, B, C, and D. You see, I know it's outside of what the society is doing, but to me, that's a great thing because it lets me know that you're not out there alone. So you get people like that, you go forth in life and know what happens later on. You start getting where I am now. I'm 73 years old. I look back and say, it was right. It was right. And that makes you have a certain feeling inside because you know that when you were going through it, everybody was telling you that it was wrong. It was crazy. I mean, I know you've heard of that. You got to be crazy to be doing this hit. You're taking a chance. You're not going through the beaten path. You can do A, B, and C and get over here. No, I want to do this over here because it's the righteous way to do it. So yeah. To me, that reflection there, it really is. Your friends become so intimate with you that they become your family as well. Then you understand what the true meaning of family is. That is to me is the thing in my journey in this year. The people I have encountered that have become what I call friends who you can rely on, and you know that hey, if I need something here, I can make a certain call here. Some people got to call Cleveland Clinic in Asia. I can call them friends and say, hey, look, what we need to do here, and then they become a part of the process because they want to make sure everything comes out right. And that's in all aspects of it.
Yeah, and I'll just, support what you're saying because one of your good friends and one of my good friends is Wayne Chandler. And Wayne has an awareness of some outside of the box ideas or ways to address healing. So because he's your friend, he's been able to apply some of those things to your benefit, Absolutely. And then, there's our friend, Dr. Brown, again, another one of your friends. So you can rely on Dr. Brown, you can rely on Brother Wayne, and they can do things that will help to edify your life. I was thinking about this yesterday, Silas, as I was in your neighborhood and at Wayne's house. And I was just thinking about how blessed I am to have friends like you and him in my life. I fully support what you're saying, and I fully support the notion that at some time you have to change those friends, as you pointed out earlier, because your success many times is reliant upon those who are in your circle. And the mistake that some people make, as you so eloquently pointed out, is holding on to situations that no longer serve you. I think about young people and the pressure that they have in terms of their peers. And some of our young people end up not being successful because they keep the wrong company.
Oh,
If
man.
if you're hanging with the brothers who are out on the street and up to no good, then that's where you'll be, on the street and up to no good. You hang with young brothers who are doing things with an eye towards the future and their success, then their success rubs off on you. I've learned as a musician, I'm evolving as a musician, but I've learned that the best way to have a great sound as a musician is to surround myself with people that I see on an even greater level musically than I am. That forces me to elevate my game. If I'm going to be hanging with them, I got to have something to say. So,
Absolutely.
having something to
Absolutely.
say means contributing to the conversation. But if I ain't there, then I'm just sitting there and I'm not saying anything. I'm just going along for the ride. But if I hung out with cats that didn't have any skill, then overall the sound is going to be terrible.
It will
So,
be.
so what do I do? I go get Ken LeGrand. Ken is one of the baddest saxophonists, not just in Cleveland, not just in this county, the state, the country. The brother is talented. So when I have a gig, Ken is my number one choice. There are drummers in this city, world class drummers, young and old. Hey, can you do this gig? Yep. They come do the gig. People are sitting there, you know, feet patting, head shaking, fingers popping, hand clapping. I'm like, yeah, because that drummer is playing right now. And all I got to do is say something every once in a while, but everybody is, you know, but it's your friend. So if you want to achieve success in life, let's say you're in real estate, then you have colleagues that are successful in real estate. They show you how to do it. What Europeans do in this country, especially those who have funds, if we talk about education, is they'll put their children through the education process. They get the benefit of the degree, and they might work at a company for a season. But while they're working at that company, they're observing how things work and getting an understanding of how things function so that they can step out and create their own paradigm. So they're temporarily honing their craft. They get out, they have capital, they can start something, and then they create wealth that they can pass down to another generation. As opposed to having this mindset, I'm gonna work this job for 40 years because I got this degree, and then maybe I'll be able to take a vacation or two after I hang up my hat or put the boots away or put the plumber's tools away or whatever.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, absolutely. And it all goes back to see what their mindset was at the outset. It was, I'm not going to be here all this kind of time. I'm going to learn what this has to provide for me. And then I'm going to take it to the next level with the knowledge that it has provided for me. We just have to change that within our people, within ourselves, to understand that. When we do that, it will be. I mean, we will go. I mean, in a generation, it can be done when you change that mindset like that. And and I'm glad you use the example of the musicians, because I always, what I love about music is this. When you go to a concert, a jazz setting, anything like that, anything, you see, it's two shows going on. See, it's the show that you're receiving in the audience because you don't know, and then it's the show that the performers are doing on the stage because who know. So see, Vince Roberts is on the stage. You communicate with your band the whole time. They don't know it. The audience has no idea. So you got
Right.
two things happening there, and what you're doing on the stage is you get on a whole different level. There's only a few people in the audience understand that. You understand when a note might be wrong, whatever. They don't know, but that's not the point. The point is they get entertained on their level. See, on their level, you're doing something on a whole different level within the same environment, same genre. You know, I used to smile, see the all of the renditions about James Brown and how he'd be talking to the band through the whole performance. He'd slide over here and tell me that'll cost you 50 because you made the wrong note or you did something wrong. I said, the audience never knew. Never knew. It's not life like that, Vince. It's not life like the same way. You know, those who have had the opportunity to learn and know, they know what's going on. We can be sitting out there, in the world, and we know what's happening. And we're not making any comment to the masses out there, but we know and we can communicate with ourselves, knowing what's going on. While the world is out there, swaying back and forth and being led this way and that way because they don't know. Our job is to try to get more, use your vernacular, get more band members up there. One day, Vince, I'm gonna try to have a whole orchestra. I'm gonna be like Fred, try to get a whole orchestra up there in life, about life. That's what we're
Yeah.
about.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned Fred and the orchestra, and just reflecting on the experience that I've had with that configuration. Um, I think it was last February when it was the Love Unlimited Orchestra. He did a concert at Richmond Heights High School, and I had the privilege of recording it. So I did the videotape for him, and he was able to share that video and so forth and so on. But it was just really amazing to see all these musicians working together and to see how he coordinated all of it. It just kind of reminded me of, a theater director, because I've watched people like Terrence Spivey and Reggie Kelly and others in action, and they have an awareness of every single element that's going on through that process, and the way, the musicians communicate with each other. They're looking at music that's in front of them, but they're also looking for cues for the director or whoever is running things. So it's kind of a complicated situation, but somehow it works. And because of the collective effort that everybody makes, you have this harmony. I totally relate to what you were saying about how people on stage communicate with each other, and I remember seeing the piece about James Brown. He would flash, he would flash, and whatever he flashed, that was a fine. So you all
Exactly.
know that's $15. That's $50. So that you have that mindset. But interestingly enough, Silas, and maybe I'll share this video with you. I watched a video last night about the guitarist, and this is really all subject, but you brought it into this conversation, so I'm just remembering. I watched this video about the guitarists in James Brown's bands from day one. So there were the Famous Flames. That was the first group that he was in, and they existed. And then he kind of joined them and made that his band, and then it went through the evolutions. But when you it was interesting, Silas, because it was this white brother who was a guitarist, and he playing the licks. This is the level to which they watch us, they internalize, they appropriate, and they try to replicate us. So it was really fascinating. And this guy, he's breaking down the different licks and the chords, and and not only is he breaking it down so you can hear it, he's also doing it so you can see it. So the music is playing, you see the notes that he's playing as they scroll across the screen. It was amazing. And what I learned about all these different guitarists and the lengths that he went through to document who they were and what their it was just absolutely amazing. James Brown was phenomenal. But tragic, and I hate to bring this up, but some of these band leaders, finding cats, not giving them credit for the music that they wrote, all of that, I'm thinking about George Clinton, man. George was a hero of mine, and then I heard the real story, and George is paying folks with cocaine. Like, and they're saying, I can't pay the electric bill with this, bro. I can't pay the rent with this. And then the fact that he would sell the rights to the music, which left them out of the royalties, but also left him without resources. It was really tragic. But
The
perhaps
business
they
side. The
turned.
business side. It's the business side, man. It's the
Yeah.
business side there. And the music, I mean, that's a whole nother show. The business side. It's the Funk Brothers, the business side.
Yes.
They come in there. I'm all about the music. You better be about the music and the money that goes with it, and the credit you need to get later on, because
Hmm.
you talking about a business where you get ripped off. Oh, that's worse than the drug game. The music business. Oh my.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Oh, you
Oh,
know.
it's cutthroat. The music business is cutthroat. I was having a conversation with the playwright, Jean Madison. She is the daughter of the architect Robert Madison.
Oh,
But
okay. Okay.
we were just talking about theater and how much work it is. I
Mhm.
mean, those actors put in hours and hours and hours of rehearsal that aren't paid.
Paid
They're
12 to
not.
14
They're
an
not.
hour. Hey, just to get it
Yeah.
right. Just to get it
And
right.
then right. And then you might get paid for a performance, but you only got paid for that performance and you didn't get paid for all that other time.
Yeah.
And then we have this idea that these actors are living these fabulous lives and they're making all this money. I saw a video with Terrence Howard, and he was saying that he made $12,000 for the film Hustle and Flow.
See, he just wanted to do it.
He didn't get the Oscar for the song. The song got the Oscar,
Right.
and the character that he played got the Oscar.
But he
he,
didn't.
he didn't get the Oscar, nor did he get the royalties. I mean, it's a cutthroat business, and but we got all these folks who their dream in life is to achieve that success. But now, when you look at things like what happened with R. Kelly, and you look at what's going on with Diddy right now, and people that are associated with them, I don't know, bruh. I don't know that I would want fame to that degree that I'd be willing to make those sacrifices so that everybody could see my face and hear my voice. I mean, to give up your soul or to make a contract with who, and yeah, I think I would pass on that.
Because you at a different state in your life now, in your mind. All right. When you're young and out there, and you consider a means to an end, thinking that don't worry about, hey, this ain't gonna come back to bite me. I'm just out here. No, that's what make the business cutthroat, because those who you are making a deal with, they know. See,
Yeah,
they know, and they know
yeah.
exactly what they're doing. And I'm talking about from the big executives in offices and to the hanger-oners nowadays. They know, because they see, oh, I can see a paycheck down the road here. All I gotta do is bide my time and do it right, and come back, and
Yes.
there it is. It's a new
Well,
day out there.
it's a new day, and with that, I would just say that if you decide that you want to be a recording artist, or you want to have a streaming platform, or whatever your decision is in terms about your craft, put yourself in the driver's seat. It's important to have representation, like my brother Silas Ashley, the attorney, to make sure that the legal things are in order. But it's really important for you to be in the driver's seat, because other than that, you're lending yourself to exploitation. You could have your record on Spotify and get 50 million spins, 50 million people listen to your recording, and at the end of 50 million spins, you got $5,000.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky, that's all you have to show for all of the activity. But Spotify made millions of
Mhm.
dollars from your recording. So if you take the approach that Chance the Rapper and people like Eric Roberson, who decided they would create their own label, create their own product, and have total responsibility for it, it gives you an ability to control your own destiny. I'm going to say this as we wind down. The most important thing that you can do in life is find your purpose and assign yourself to it.
Every time, and get some good friends.
and have some good friends. And you do
Oh yeah.
that, the chances are more likely than not that you will have success in life. Silas, I want to thank you on behalf of all of us who have attended Kent State University, all of those who were honored and those that we didn't mention because there was a whole lot of folks and we couldn't have gone through all of those names. But I just congratulate you for taking the initiative. I talk about this all the time. You have the Oscars, the Grammys, the Tonys, and the fourth Emmys, I think. Got those things, and it's other people honoring us, but we have to get to a point where we honor ourselves. And what you
Yes.
did went a long way towards creating that paradigm. And I know the university fully embraced it. The president of the university was present at the event, and he was there the whole time. And that really says a
The
lot,
whole, the whole
because
time.
a lot of times, they'll come in, they'll show their face, they'll say a few remarks, and then they'll casually slide out the door. I'm not going to mention any names, but I've seen mayors do it. I've seen Congress people. Matter of fact, the Congress people will just send somebody in their stead. They ain't even showing up.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, it was a very meaningful thing, and everybody who received an award that night was well deserving. And their virtues need to be known, because folks need to know that just as they achieved, you can achieve as well when you apply yourself to whatever craft or whatever lane or genre that you are working in. So I want to congratulate you on the success and encourage you to continue to do what you're doing. We talked about those productive years in life, and as I said before, you are the evidence of that. Your work ethic, from what I'm seeing, is unparalleled. So continue to do what you do, and we'll come back and we'll have other conversations about some of the things that we couldn't fully discuss today. So we're going to make you one of our subject matter experts on 360 Info Network, and also engage you with the other
Thank you.
program that I do, which is Open Door with Vince Robinson, that airs on 95.9 FM WOVU. So we'll have some conversations there. And if there's anything that you want to promote, just let me know. And my platform is available to you as a means of promotion.
Thank you so much.
Anything you'd like to share with us about things that are going on that folks should know about, and ways that they can contribute?
Only just season greetings, and take each day, good people, and make a point. Take it 5 or 10 minutes to unclutter your mind. We have a whole lot up in our mental closet that we need to get rid of. Just
Mhm.
take 5 or 10 minutes each day to do that, and take care of your health. And guess what? We'll all be around to do some other positive things going forth in 2024.
Yes. Thank you for chiming in, Brian. And you make a very, very good point there. Life should be lived more like jazz and less like business. If you're living your life like jazz, then there's space for improvisation. And improvisation is one of the most powerful things that you can implement. So, absolutely on point. With that, I will
Yes.
say, as always, know yourself, love yourself, be yourself, and make today your best day. Peace.
Peace. Peace, y'all.